Yahoo! Prof here, and we got a big old box over there. However, we're behind on those. So, it's going to be a long one today, / tonight. I'm gonna move this paperwork out of the way that I need to take care of. Freaking filing documents and... right? So, I'm probably gonna do the one on the left. Some of you might know which one that is. Oh, gotta put the alcohol away. Oh, you guys ever use isopropyl for cleaning things? Stick it in a spray bottle. Way nicer than, the old jug. Also, I've heard in other countries you can't just go and buy 90%. That would suck. That would suck quite a bit. To be truthful, I don't even know why you'd necessarily want 70%. I just use 90% of my wounds too. Maybe that's just because it's what I got around here. This one's actually squares. He said I could open it though, but he wants pictures. You guys gonna take pictures for him? Screenshots? Print screen? On that note, I should make a video about the new Snippin sketch. Well, I just call it Screenshot tool in Windows 11 now. It got rebranded. But it's actually like really good, and you can actually pop previous photos up in it and re-edit them. So if you just need to like draw on it or circle things or do quick crops, it is actually probably better than the built-in photo tool for that sort of stuff. No, not probably. It is better than the quick built-in photo tool, and it's faster than things like I was going to say XNView MP. That's what I currently use. Previously, I can't remember. I don't recommend it anymore. That dev is kind of an ass. Blocked Riot, which is the resizer I use for making web photos, from updating and adding more features. Because it would be too big and they wouldn't give them source, and even though it's a plugin. There's a whole thing about that. I might have talked about it previously. I think my computer's stuck right now. Because I can see the light going for the facial recognition. If you're going to get a camera or a webcam for your PC and you're actually going to go out and buy one, make sure it has a Sony sensor, but then the second thing I would do is make sure it has Windows Hello. For the longest time, the only company that had that was Logitech with their Brio, and they renamed that like their 4K something camera. But even some of the third-party camera vendors now do have Windows Hello. Super handy. If you don't, I mean, I think I've even seen some third-party fingerprint readers now. I had those back in like I swear the XP era. There was like a dedicated one you could buy, but it had to have its own software. I don't know why my computer still hasn't woken up. Maybe it will eventually. So this is garbage. Some of you that have seen this packaging before might know what it is. Why hasn't this thing woken up? Legitimately. Oh, yeah. Yeah, the webcam is still just going like mad. I've had some weird things happen with the desktop lately. I've also been needing to update the BIOS significantly and upgrade to 24H2 as well. So a lot of that could be related to that. as I've been hitting newer drivers that actually require the Intel LAN being one of them. They require 24H2. Ooh, mine looks to have gotten a wee bit squished. A wee bit. There we go. That is definitely, you guys should know what that is inspired by. Do we need some more light? There you go. There's some more light. I'm gonna go get the we can't speak of the English. The predecessor to that. There it is. Some of you, I don't even know if the video's up for this yet by this time, since we're going backwards. This is the 8-bit. I got it in the slim side click. I think I've been over that before, because with these, they had one other one that was in the same sort of theming, and I prefer with like the hard color accents on the slimmer ones. Also with this written reset, I felt like on the thicker pen body, it just fit better with the slimmer. This was available in slim side click, slim bolt, and then even eventually slim pencil, which I forget what they call. This might, or sorry, it was available in thick, like all of their options. It was available in basically. This is the 16-bit, as you can see here. And what all we got for accessories? We got a little book, instruction manual. It's a notebook, basically. So, meet your side click, instruction manual. Oh, it did finally pop up. It's saying it couldn't log me in because the Face ID failed. I had that happen on my... Oh, and now we have all white for the main monitor. Something definitely crashed while it was signed out. Then we've got, there you go, a 16-bit magnet. There you go. That looks like a SNES cart. Up, down, down, left, right, BA, start, Konami code. Tactile Turn sticker. I literally couldn't have enough of these. JK. Got a stack of them. That's where I probably have more than Tactile Turn does at this point. And my receipt that I need to scan in. Ugh. So I was pretty pumped about this one because I think some people's favorite is actually the 8-bit. I think they did a thing, and I don't know if that's just because they were working on the 16-bit at the time, but I saw them go around there. Oh, shift is stuck for some reason. That's fucking weird. They went around the office, and a lot of people said the 8-bit was their favorite. I wouldn't... The Nautilus is the best, in my opinion. What other slim do I have? I ended up getting the Sprout in Bolt because I always felt I should have gotten that in Bolt instead. But then as an eject button, it didn't make sense. But don't try to move it. I want to say Sprout was the next one that had this sort of solid with darker tips and butt. Okay, so here's the other thing: is this guy was available in Bolt as an eject button or a reset button. At least I believe it was. Maybe I'm talking on my butt here. Let's go look this up. 8-bit. Tactile Turn. 8-bit. Spring 2023. 2 years ago. Nope, side click and slim side click. Yeah, so it's slim. Am I crazy that this had a pencil version? Okay, there was indeed an 8-bit pencil, which kind of makes sense because it's a... That's King Arthur just going mad on the sharpening for those guys wondering. So I wasn't crazy. It's the Sprout that had all the versions. This was only a side click, was in slim or big. I thought with the reset and the size of the side click, the slim was the better one to go with. Also, if I recall correctly, the pencil's only available in slim. Not that I got the pencil. I don't really use pencils. Also, their pencils are really just a insert. Like, you can get like Parker adapters and similar. I think it's actually a Schmidt adapter that makes really any pen into a pencil. The only thing that they're adapting is instead of the bolt having to bolt like that, like, you know, bolt action, it just slides forward. That's the really the only difference they're making. So, and I think it's kind of cool that I got the 8-bit in the slim and the 16-bit in the thick, and they made this very much like this. Looks very like, you know, an instruction manual from the SNES. I mean, SNES is my era of when it all started. Like, I think I would have been a wee bit young for NES. Just a hair, you know. And I did play NES, but SNES is really... I've also, even personally, even later in life, I mean, if you think about it, if you had nothing else available at the time, the NES games would have been like interesting, but I feel like the SNES games, like those games, I feel like NES games necessarily aren't still playable today, whereas I would argue a lot of the SNES games and that era are still playable now. Like, there's, especially when you're talking about certain genres that, you know, some of the best games are still back then. Not that they couldn't have been improved on or there aren't newer versions of, but a lot of them are just derivatives of what that was back then still. So there's no reason why you couldn't play those, minus compatibility. Like, you know, having the actual stuff. So they even used a different font on the little label here. Take a look. See? Side click 16-bit standard. That's the model number. Probably design machine assembled in Texas. Tactile Turn on the web. Tactile Turn on Insta. They do have a Twitter, but I don't think they're all that active on it. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Karos is the one that does Facebook pretty actively. There you go. Tactile Turn seasonally official tactile proof of quality 16-bit. And they list it very similar to how packaging of that era would have been done. I still remember when the cheapened SNES, I forget what they called it, but it came out later. That might have been even like a hair into... Like, this is how consoles worked back then, guys. You could release a slim... Nintendo tried this with the Wii Mini, and I don't think that worked very well because there were so many Wiis out there and the Wii U really wasn't a success. But when we're talking like SNES into N64, the SNES could still be popular even though the N64 is out. And if it's not backwards compatible, with which it wasn't, if anything, you might see, at least as game sales, better sales on the older platform because there's more out there. So, but yeah, that was like a weird thing. Like they would refresh consoles. Like they definitely did it. There was the PS1 in the US, like because it was PlayStation or PSX, but the PS and then like one written out. That was like a smaller version of the original PlayStation that came out when, I believe, when the PS2 was out, or very dang near it. I knew people that got that for Christmas and not PlayStation 2 because of the huge, vast difference in cost. And you played it all the same because that's what you got, you know? Ooh, it's thick. Yeah, I don't know. Having these side by side, I prefer, when it comes to side clicks, I've mentioned this in other videos, I prefer the standard side click, not the thin. The action feels much more, I don't know if that's the same radius as that, but because it's smaller, it feels more rounded. Also, it definitely goes into the body more. Versus this kind of has a hard stop before your finger goes past. So it just feels like the click is nicer. These kind of, I've had, on launch, they had issues. All the Slim side clicks did, pretty much. They fixed them all. Tactile is very good about going back and fixing it. Yeah, so they only had the standard side click. Yeah, which, like I said, for me, who got the slim 8-bit, perfect, 8 to 16. Now I got to make a thick side click when we get to the N64. Because they make thick bolts. Yeah, we got, here's a Micarta thick bolt. Here's a G10. May the 4th be with you sort of stuff, you know, Stormtrooper style with DLC hardware. This is a gorgeous G10, white G10. Yeah, like a thick side click. I'm kind of interested in one of those. But looks wise, I don't know. I think I prefer the 8-bit, to be truthful. $16-bit definitely has its vibes, though. And it's gonna get that purple gray with the purple, with the 2 different colors. They modeled the clip off of the Super Scope grip. This one was off of the NES Blaster, I believe. I think my first one of these had the odd issue where like the button, the red on the button was coming off. So you'd have to watch that video from way back then. If it's even out. Otherwise, if it's not out, it will eventually be. But the Trailhead, I think it was. It's hard to remember all the variants. That was the first side click, I think. Slim side click, I should say, not side click. They don't list all the seasonals anymore. Yes, new slim side click. So yes, it was a trailhead. That one had issues. Then the winter one that came out somewhat recently, mine had the same click issues that the very early side clicks had, where it would like be hair trigger. You'd push it in and just brush this button, and it would they fixed it. They sent me a replacement. Like I said, I think this one had the issue of, you can even see this one a little bit in there. There's like a little bit black on the leading and following edges of that button. But on the original, it was like chipping off. I think. Pretty sure it was this one. But this one works. Oh, was this the one too we couldn't get this tip off of? It might have been. For those wondering, I think it was. I really do think it was. And that is why I asked, like, they're like, oh, we had to use pliers. I'm like, how'd you use pliers and not wreck it? This is how. I can link them down below if you guys remind me. These are the ones that they use. They have plastic jaws with grippers kind of going both ways. And that is how they got the tip off. And and they're like, oh, why'd you want to get the tip off so soon? Well, you guys know the first thing I do is take out the G2 cartridge and yeet it at a coworker, which they're happy because they're like, oh, free ink. I'm like, get that shit out of here. But now I've got one of those myself, so I hopefully don't run into that issue. But yeah, even they had to take the pliers to it with the fancy jaws so they don't wreck it. And when they sent it back, this is taking the O-ring with it. I can feel it. The O-ring wasn't on all the way. Oh, jeez, that thing was tight. So after that, I'm like, I think that pliers is like under 20 bucks. It's like 12 bucks or something, I want to say. Somewhere around there. I'm like, for somebody who owns enough expensive pens, I should probably spend a couple bucks and get myself one of those, just in case I encounter that in the future. This one's tight, but it does come off by hand. The other one, Squares and I could not move it at all. I did try pliers with like stuff around it to like grip it, like to not wreck it, like rubber. I tried like there's like those rubber things they use for opening jars. It would not move. Ooh, I didn't notice the gray button right away for the eject, and that's like the center one because there's power, reset, and then the eject in the middle because there's like sliders. You pull it down for power, push it up for off, and then pull down for reset. It's a momentary switch, so you just pull it down and let it go, and that'll reset it. The fitment, if you do use the G2, is quite good on the tip there. I will usually end up putting a Uniball in here. I think for the side clicks, you may have to cut it down slightly. I'm trying to remember. Or it may fit without issue. Well, we can find out here. Slim bolt fits without modification. And stock Uniball, not this is my Carryology. There's a much rarer Carryology I missed. Sold out like instantaneously. And I'm sure people on the secondhand market are selling. God dang, that thing's tight. That O-ring does not want to stay where it's supposed to be. It's part of the issue here. So, standard Uniball, standard tactile turn spring. Fine for the full size. And I think you actually need the more force for the side click. Doesn't stick out. So yeah, side click is one of them. I forgot. And I should say that standard side click. This guy, if you notice, I'm running a, some of you may not notice, but that's a juice up. You can see by the hybrid conical needle point with the plastic tip there. That is because you cannot fit, and I shouldn't say cannot, the Uniballs do not like working in here, even when cut down, from my experience. However, in a slim bolt, they fit without issue. If you go with a standard bolt or a thick bolt, you're going to want to use, either cut them down. God damn. Oh, I don't know if you can tell how hard I'm having to work to get that off. It's all because this O-ring wants to thread itself off for whatever reason. Either way, not going to be a huge issue. I'll just modify up one of these Uniballs real quick and load it right up. Just a reminder, if you are using either the slim bolt or the slim side click, put in a stock G2 spring. Keras' springs, I heard back, they actually commented on the basic video from Everyday Keras. Their springs are custom. I think they're listed on the site as G2 springs. They're not, but they are custom for their pens. They do work great in their pens. It's just when I wanted a G2 spring for these, I bought some of those. Not the same thing. Yeah, I don't know if you can see from this clip, but I use this Carryology one quite a bit. You can see wear around the tip of that clip right there. So yeah, I use my pens, guys. And yes, sadly, that does mean sometimes they get a little worn. My Ember and my orange CWNT Pen Type B are good examples of it. This guy, which is the Whataburger, I actually went through. If you look, this end of this is not even rounded like I've been doing. I actually went through and like this isn't modified at all. That's because at work I went through a cartridge and had to refill it. So I didn't take time to do the usual modifications you might have seen on the refill that we just pulled out of. I'm talking weird, that's because there's ink and it's getting on from somewhere. Got on my hand, and on the Whataburger, with it being white, it shows up as being dirty. And it's not. I was getting some. See right there. On the 16-bit as well. Whatever it is water soluble. So yeah. Oh my god, I definitely have it on my... Look, I just wiped and smeared all that. Like, there's something on my hand someplace that is doing this. Fucking weird. I literally don't see anything on my hands, but you can very clearly tell I need something actually wet. I know what I can use. Here, just don't mix these up. Spray bottle for water I use for spraying cats. Like, why do you spray your cats? Because it's not mean. And even King can hear. He's like, what the fuck is that? He's over here on a scratching post. He knows what's up. Because he gets squirted by the TV with that thing. Because he puts his paws up on the TV. Anytime this thing even makes noise, he's looking over here, being like, what the fuck is that? These lighter colors, like I said, show that sort of stuff on them more. Especially that white Whataburger. It always looks a little dirty in places. I don't know how to explain that, because it really shouldn't. Gotta wash your pens, I guess, guys. But yeah, with this lighter gray, you could definitely see some of that black that was coming off from one of the ink cartridge. Must have had a little bit on its out. Yeah, you can see it there. Okay, so that one, normally I would go and throw these at a friend. I don't know that that one's gonna get done. That one might not make it out of here, because I don't necessarily want to throw it in my backpack, being all nasty. And I can wipe it down, and it'll still be fine. But yeah, that's probably where that schmutz came from. Let's grab a refill real quick. I don't even know if I showed you guys that properly here. This refill, I can see where it. You can see a little, like all on the sides there. That's where it has come from. Just one of our few that's left. So here, I can show you what I saw in there too, maybe. It is a flat bottom to the plunger on the. I don't know that I can get that in focus. There you go. Flat bottom to that plunger that's in there. So I've showed in other videos how I take a notch out of it. Even that Whataburger that I only modified at work, probably gonna do this one. Well, this one's already shortened. That's why I have a star on it. And it says cut 2mm too short for a new bolt cross. I cut the usual 2mm off of it, and that was too much. So, can't use that one. There's plenty of pens that use ones that are actually early tactile turn bolts. Can't use those. I mean, if you aren't like me and drill out the tip, that's for sure. And I was just going to cut the little V-notch out of this and put it to use so I can bring it to work when I go in this week, rather than doing the whole thing. Because, like, especially the pens that really don't require modification, like the bolt requires a little bit of modification to the tip of the Uniball. Even once you take off the requisite amount of refill in the back end, the always, because when you futz with it, sometimes this metal tip can get pushed out or pulled out a little bit. Just always, before you take that off, just push it in there. This guy on the Keras bolt, this isn't an issue. Internally, this guy is an issue. So that's another thing I'll shave down. Also, some of these get a little bit bigger when they go over this ridge for sealing here. So when I take just some sandpaper that down. I've also, this ridge on some of the pens with the tip will get caught. So if you just take your utility knife and cut like angle that a little bit, that's especially when you want to make sure to push the tip on. But this one, the tip, because I was cutting out this notch on this end, I must have been finagling it a little bit here, and it had unseated itself. I have not paid attention enough sometimes and actually had the tip come off and killed an entire refill. Don't be like me. I do, however, recommend a little V-notch like that. That way, the other thing you could do, and I haven't tried it, is like the refills that have the cut sideways like that. If you took like you have an old jigsaw blade or hacksaw blade, you could probably just go across it, and as long as you go deep enough so that it wouldn't be flush, probably the thickness of that plastic is how much you would have to go deep at a minimum, because you'd want the air to be able to come out the sides, right? Maybe I'll try that in the future. But we're just going to take this guy unmodified other than that notch, because that's flat up in there. For reference, once again, on our potentially leaky G2 refill, there's that little flat part. Oh yeah, you can see this one's really full for a G2, I feel like, too, if you see how far up that is. But you see there's a little notch on the back end of that refill there. So that's how the back can be flat up against the back, and it still get atmospheric pressure to push down and advance the gel. So that's why these can't write upside down, is because they need gravity plus atmospheric pressure to advance the ink in the refill. There we go. Works just fine with the side click. And I don't know if they purposely made that happen, because like I said, on the slim side click, it doesn't work. Like, you can't just stick a Uniball refill in there. Now, I did complain. I shouldn't. Complain's a strong word, right? Complain's a strong word. I did, like, I brought up how close they were on the original bolt. I shouldn't say original bolt, because they had bolt action pens before the Tactile Turn pen, basically, which is the bolt, or bolt action. Like they had the slider and the glider before that. But with the original bolt, bolt, Tactile Turn bolt, I had to drill out the tip a hair to make it work. You can also, later on, found out, like I said, that you can chop the back, but it is like a millimeter, even less. I drilled out the tip. Works fine. I could see why they were a bit iffy, because there is very little metal there on the tip. I can see why maybe they didn't want to mass produce that. But they still fixed mine even though I did that, because that didn't break. The clip area did. And they machined a new part for it because they weren't making that exact style anymore. So I can always appreciate that, because that was mine. I modified it to take my refills, and day one, in fact, and I burned out a drill bit doing it, because turns out the titanium nitride coated bits aren't actually titanium. Yeah, think about that one. So killed one of those real fast. So yeah, look at that. That rate's great. So here's to using this guy for a quarter. Had been using the Groove. I always like seeing side clicks. The seasonals are almost always side clicks. When they're not, I'm surprised. The Ember was the first bolt since the original Stealth. Love the Ember, even though I'm not always super into Tactile Turns bolts. And often, like, I would rather have a thick bolt or a slim bolt, not a standard one. But that Ember, I don't know if it's when it hit, or it seems like Tactile Turns bolts that are fully Cerakoted are so smooth. I don't know how they get that, but they're just amazing to use. And that one's got, like I said, it's got some chips in it where stuff hit the Cerakote, or I dropped it and it hit things harder than Cerakote and chipped it off. But it's seen some use. I think now seeing this in my hand, it feels great. Uniball, I'm using the UMR 83E in here. Writes great, just how I would expect it. Tip fitment, perfectly fine for me. It is tight in there too. Here, you can look at that end. Like, people are like, oh, but it's designed for the G2. It won't, blah, 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 blah. Bro, give it a shot. G2 sucks, I'm sorry. I'd rather use a Pallet Juice than a G2. Juice is much better refill in my opinion. But I like the UMR 83E, which is the cellulose. Smoother writing, is not light fast. Light fast meaning as soon as UV hits it, it cures. Is not like that. You do have to wait a second or two for the ink to dry. You lefties, you probably want to look at the UMR 83, not the 83E. And because that'll dry faster if you want a gel ink, because of its light fast properties. This guy's running a juice up. You know, these are a good option as long as you don't need the metal tip. Some pens rely on having that metal tip to have a nice write feeling. That makes sense. A great example is my Paisley TI2 design. I don't think these are called the TI2 Tech Liner anymore, but this is a TRD coated, laser engraved, not even laser etched. Beautiful pen. But because of how they do the tip on these, you need that metal tip. I've tried the plastic ones, and they get, like, there's flex when you write. They're like a little bit floppy. And this, because of that, this is running the juice. So, still writes good. A little bit lighter than the cellulose and the juice up. If you have to run a juice, though, or like if you need a G2 compatible refill, and you're like me, and you're like, I do not like the G2. You know, like something like that. Like you're French Canadian. This guy's also running the G2, or sorry, the Pilot Juice there. You can see by the white and the white. You can see I used a decent chunk of that one already. A lot of the capped ones that take the click refills, that take the Pilot G2 and G2 compatible, are less forgiving, I feel like, than actual bolt or click or that sort of style. Here we have in the Render K the Hi-Tec-C clicked style refill, which I do not recommend buying. They're expensive and they're kind of shitty compared to a real Hi-Tec-C. But if you only have pens that can take those, just be aware that they still need to be stored tip up. Otherwise, they will diarrhea themselves all inside of either the cap or whatever it is that you got going. So look at that. They've adapted it into a bit of an abomination. Abomination. If you ask me. But I had opened one up thinking it would work in something, and oh boy, didn't it. So I held it and stored it with tape over the tip in actually one of the pockets on my pen holder until I got a pen that could take it, which is a cap style that takes a Pilot G2. And if you guys are wondering, the original Render K took the original stick style Hi-Tec-C refill. So I thought it was fitting that the new latest Render K would take. I had put a click style in it. So let me know what you guys think about the 16-bit here. I think they are following up fairly well on their 8-bit release. I kind of find it fun that I picked up the slim 8-bit and then they only made the 16-bit in thick. Now they do also have the pencil, which I believe is slim. So if you guys have a slim pencil back on the 8-bit, I have to imagine getting the 16-bit pencil because Tactile does not do that many pencils currently. I'm just lining things up maybe for a thumbnail. But I'm gonna try and clean off this refill. See if it can be saved, because I hand them off to guys at work. The coworker I helped build a PC. He's got way too many now. You guys have seen, if you watch my channel, you've seen the box that Karas Customs come in there, that little cardboard box. He has one completely full of Pilot G2 0.5 and 0.7 refills. And I just still keep giving him more because we bought him, like I was joking about that, and then he's like, "Well, I don't have a pen to use it." So then Squares and I chipped in and got him a I think it was a Retract. I think it's a Retract. I saw him using it the other day. I had to give him crap. Like, "Oh, so are you using up a refill a day or something with that?" And he's just like, "Dude, I will never go through that many refills." And hey, at least they're going to somebody. I think some other people bum them off of him. You know, I know Squares every now and then, if he has a need for like a 0.5, he might take it. I temporarily use, you know, if I don't have, because I buy the 0.38 G2s. I have one of those refills where I will use that until I can get a Uniball in there. You know, I'll have so many of those 0.38s, I might throw them in my... I always keep like a refill or two in my lunchbox of each style I like. I might just chuck one in there just in case. Well, cheers to you guys. I'm gonna finish up my sparkling water here, and let me know what you thought. Do you think the 16-bit is a proper follow-up to their original 8-bit? And which of the two do you prefer? I think the 16-bit is growing on me. I really do think they were pretty darn smart. Did a great job with the packaging. I know some of you guys were against not having the cards. There used to be cards for every seasonal, like metal engraved cards. But they're like, we found like people didn't like want them or use them or whatever. Whereas if you get something like, you know, you get a button or a magnet or whatever, you'll just get some kind of good with it they can actually use or put someplace that isn't just like a like a metal card. Yeah, or some. I think you get stickers. One of the things you get seeds, all kinds of stuff like that. The one thing I do kind of miss picking up. I didn't have a need for the Ember Fire Starter, but that coffee mug, I debated getting it. It looked so good with the Nitro because it was such a classic style diner coffee mug. Should have snagged that. Should have snagged that. That'd have been awesome, even if just to keep pens in, you know, or pen refills in or whatever. But yeah, what do you guys think of the 16-bit? Is this one that you're going to pick up for yourself? You got the whole season, so it's usually 3 to 4 months, depending. I forget what day it exactly goes, but they'll actually have a cutoff. They're not really limited; they're just time limited. They will make kind of as many as they want. Now, be aware that eventually, once this is no longer made, like most tactile stuff, these usually end up at, I would say at a minimum, it's usually plus $50 to get one after the fact, and often if it was a popular one, it's double. So if you guys are into the reselling thing, it's not something that I do. I buy them for me to use or for other people to use, and the only time they go is when I sell them to you guys. When I bought one thinking I'd like it, and it turns out just not my jam. Square still says to the day that his OD Green G10 is one of his favorite and most used pens. He did an entire course using it, all of his notes and everything, just with that pen. So glad I could go to a good home. I thought, oh, that one's going to be the one, and it was exactly not the one. But hey, found a good home. Some of my other ones have done the same things. I sell them for what I get for them, and you guys have done the same for me. So keep it going to all you in the community. Peace.